Hi, everybody. Oh, we've got a fun one today, but before we get to this great interview, please do me a favor and subscribe. That would really help us out and help us to continue to bring you great guests. Now, let's get to that interview. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Too Opinionated. I'm pretty excited today. So I've got filmmaker, director Hamza Zaman, along with costume designer, producer Chelsea Roth. So welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, great to be here. Thank you very much.
How'd I do? Did I get it pretty close?
Perfect.
Our listeners and our viewers, they know I struggle with names. So, all right, that's pretty good. Mark that down as a win. So welcome to the show. And I know we have to talk the Institute because I'm so excited about it. But let's get a little background first, Tell me a little bit, about what got you guys into the entertainment business. How did you go about deciding this is what I want to do?
You want to go first?
Sure. Yeah. So I've been involved with theater almost all of my life. Mainly from like the design point of view. I've also more as a hobby, been into writing also, which is where Hamza and I met. And where, all of this started. Anyway, so my background was mainly theater, a little bit of television. I did hair and makeup.
Yep.
And now film.
Well, so were you doing theater through school? Were you in front of the camera or were you working behind the scenes?
I was behind the scenes, definitely.
Yeah. That's the hardest job.
Yeah, it is. It's well, I think it's a very known secret that all of the drama really does happen backstage or on set. And yeah.
Yeah. I think that's terrific. And I know you do some work with the costumes. Is that something that you've always done, or is that something that you've recently started doing?
Yeah, it's something that I've always been really passionate about, the whole look of the film, that whole aspect, anything design. I kind of specialized through school in hair, makeup, prosthetics, and wigs. And then later on in, after school, specifically in wigs and period hairstyling and things like that. But I love it all, and, through Hamza and our work together, I've had the chance to do to costume design and do hair and makeup for a lot of plays and all of our shorts and now our feature.
No, that's so exciting. So Hamza, what's your background? How did you get into the entertainment business?
It's a good question. I think my initial foray into writing, or the desire for it, came when I was a kid watching Saturday morning cartoons or after school cartoons. And I was I would do this a little differently. You know what I mean? This is not the way the story should be. And then that would, kind of got, tossed back. And then in high school, me and a couple of my friends, which is where I started writing my first scripts, we were really into horror. We tried to do, I started writing my own personal scripts. I tried to work with them to make our first horror movie. We had one meeting. They said my idea was too similar to another movie. And so we never took it any further. But I kept writing. And actually one of those two guys is still into prosthetics. And, the other one sadly passed. But he's always been kept in touch. We, sort of helps me out with the props here and there. And then I just kind of kept writing and writing. I took a break, took some classes in school, and then just started working in technology. And I always kind of kept the stories. I'd always talk about them, probably annoying my friends. You know what I mean? They were, probably okay, this is never going to happen. I was trying to make a film here or there. Cut to 2008, where I finally just bit the bullet and put 10 grand. And I was I'm going to make a movie. So I made my first short. I think it was seen by probably a few hundred people for a contest. It didn't, I didn't really know how to place it, what the point of it was, something I wanted to do and have a say. So put that to bed until, honestly, we just kind of kept writing this whole time until I met Chelsea in a writer's group, and she was working on her play. I was working on one of my screenplays, and then we started discussing things. And, she was the first person I met that actually supported my creative side. And, half a dozen plays later, half a dozen shorts that we did together. And now this is our feature debut.
So when you're writing, are you bouncing those, ideas and concepts off of each other? I mean, I would think that would be helpful for that both of you are writers.
Yeah, sometimes she definitely reads them first. It's good, especially with a story like the Institute that deals so much with women and reproductive issue, to have the female perspective, who the heck am I to talk about, this situation? But I did get inspired by our own journey towards having a child and kind of the pressures that come with I don't know if you have any children or not. I mean, you have one son. I don't know if you have multiple, but when you guys decided to have children, how did it feel? There's are we going to have any problems? You want to go well. I don't know if you remember, but there's
I remember
on the men's side. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm a grandparent now, so I've got 4 grandkids.
You don't look like it.
Well, thank you. I'll use that in the clip that I circulate. But yeah, so I'm getting to see all of that through the kids' eyes. I've got 4 kids, 4 grandkids, and all of them are pretty young. So I'm seeing them kind of work through some of those. Parenting's a lot. And just, when you decide to have a child, there's all the good stuff, but it's a lot of pressure and stress, and worry. Yeah. It's a journey. It's a journey.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. I love that you started with a short film. It's because I think, when you're first starting out and you're putting that out there, you don't really have a clue. The easy part's making the film. But knowing how to position it and where to send it and take it to the festivals or what, that's something that you have to learn. And was that kind of what it was like for you?
Yeah, I mean, I had one contest that I did the film for. I got 6th place or something, and then I sort of gave it up. And then I just kind of put it behind me, it was just something I had to say, and then got back into, the regular work. Because it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of resources. And, I just didn't have the ability to pull it together at that point, alone and really be able to push, you kind of have your survival. How often can you spend $10,000? Can you do it every month and just kind of push to a film? So we took a more, I would say, kind of sustainable way for the next few shorts, where we put a little bit ourselves. We made it a team effort. We were able to gather a team and have minor investors, do the whole Indiegogo and stuff. And, people know that this film is not going to make any money. It's not a real business venture, but, just to help kind of express some of these things, we were able to find the support and kind of keep it consistent 2015, till now, and making a short, every year, every few months, basically every year or two, and just kind of keeping it out there and then putting it to the festivals. Hey, we're going to actually push this to 10 festivals. We're going to get a couple of awards for it, and kind of building up from there.
Yeah, that's terrific. So what was the first thing that the two of you worked on together?
Would you say it's Fresh Meat or Vimana? I think it was a play. Yeah, it was a play.
Fresh Meat.
Yeah, it was a play I wrote as a whim. It was funny. Chelsea was supposed to submit it to this play contest, right? We just recently met, not too recent, but recently. And I was like, hey, I want to support you in your theatrical. I hadn't really written theater before. And here are the top 5 play competitions in New York. This one is happening in a week, 2 weeks.
It was, a really short turnaround. Maybe 2 weeks.
So why don't you finish, we'll do it. I'll write a play with you. I'll work on this theater side. I've written pilots and TV type of stuff, but not really the actual full theatrical format. And so I just started doodling around on my side as we're just writing together, kind of in, supportive, but doing our own thing. And then I think 3 sessions later, it was okay, it's time to submit. And I still haven't read Chelsea's play. But I had a 3-scene short play, and first draft,
and
I
submitted. Really good. It was like, I was like very impressed.
They got it. They wanted it, and then it won that competition. And then we got some demand. Some people were like interested that were actually in the theater world, and they said, "Hey, when can we see the full length?" Right. So I kind of expanded the story from just kind of these 3 scenes into a full length play, and that got produced, and it went like to the Fringe Festival. We like sold out our opening night, and just kind of built from there. So I always kind of kept doing some theatrical work, because I really enjoyed the whole process. I wrote more plays, wrote like a one-man show, and kind of kept doing it. Had other people direct. I started directing some theater with friends that were actually that were doing their plays. It all kind of,
you guys have put in the work. That's awesome.
You gotta put in the work. That's right. You'll get not paid much.
Do either of you act? Like the stuff you're putting out there, do you act in it?
I've actually kind of surprisingly had like much more work performance-wise than anything else. I've got a couple of dozen creds. And that's sort of accidental almost. I did like background work for a friend of mine short. And then as for a lark, I just put up my picture on IMDb. And then I got a call about 3-4 days later. I was having a lunch with Truly, and somebody said, "Hey, do you have a West Coast rep?" And I was like, "Not on the West Coast yet." And so she helped me kind of build and package, my whole because to be an actor, it's a whole different story. Like to be a writer, you need some scripts. To be an actor, you need like headshots, and you need
that's right.
You need all this collateral, and you different poses and outfits and all this stuff. So she helped me get all that, and so far I had a movie come out last year, Tango Shalom, with like some Oscar nominated people.
Yeah. So, that's a really good film.
Pardon?
That's a really good film. What was your role in that?
I played Ravi Pranja, the traveling mystic. So he's like kind of a pan faith mystic, where he's sort of difficult to quantify, where he just kind of like into spirituality and kind of helping people find their way.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Does it help you? Does the acting help you with the directing? Does being on that side of the camera, does that help you at all with your directing?
I hope so. I try to always be very, very collaborative with my team on the acting side and on the crew side. That's why I named my company Headless Films, because, I feel like it's a collaborative nature. It's not really just like one top down giving orders. Whether the cast, I hope they think so. For me, I try to always be empathetic, and I told them, for whether it's a play or a film, my job is to make sure you do your best job and you look the best, and you can trust that I'm going to make sure that you come across the best you can. And hopefully
that's really good. That's really good. So Chelsea, who's when you guys are on a film or you're on a whatever you're working on together, who's the heavy? When there's a problem, who's the one that has to go fix it? Yeah, that's what I figured.
It's just the production side, I just want to make talk about camera angles and maybe the line.
Yeah. So you're the one that has to go and keep everybody in line.
Yeah, I'm putting out the fires while the camera keeps rolling.
Yeah, that's not easy.
No, that challenges. Independent film is challenging. You just don't have that kind of the flex, right? Huge budgets that give you leeway. You have more days. You have more, situations.
That's right. You have to be very selective on what you're spending your money on.
Yep. And you don't have a lot of leeway. If you don't make your shots, you got to squeeze it in the next day, or, you only have that many days you can afford for the sound guy or the camera guy or this actor. The hotel.
That actually brings up a really good point. What happens if it just doesn't go the way you want it, but you're kind of at the end of what you can do? Do you still just have to make do with what you have?
Well, on this particular film, I think we have to give all of the credit there to our amazing AD.
Yeah.
He I just admire him so much, because to watch him work in real time, he was just taking notes, okay, we went 2 minutes over here, where am I going to add it the next day? The logistics in his head and scheduling wise, every single day when he'd there's a plan and it never goes like the way it goes. And so like we'd wrap, we'd have like a 14-hour day, and this man would just like keep it all in his head, organize it, and like, just like regroup, almost like how like you're in the car and like you're getting directions and you go off course, and like
the GPS
just reroutes you. This guy was just like that, and thank goodness we had him, because everything is tight, like you're saying, especially money wise. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. Really, it's okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think if in another situation, if you do in the situation you spoke of, that's why sometimes indie films take 10 years to get made. That's why sometimes, I have friends right now still like, no fault of their own, but they're still running around trying to raise money to finish the last third of their movie and then get this shot and do that. And, that's just a nightmare that I'm very glad that we did not get into. And, that was part of our pitch when we were raising our funds to the investor is, hey, we have a plan. We have the team already together. This is what we need to do. This is how we're going to execute and get you the finished film. This is how we're going to find distribution. And that's really all we can really guarantee, right? This is what our efforts.
A lot though. Yeah, that's a lot. So, okay. So the movie is The Institute. Tell me about it. What is The Institute about?
Do you want to tell it?
The Institute is about a young couple. They want to have a child and they've tried everything, including like some event that's happened, like involving the death of their child. They're just at the end of their rope, and the well-meaning husband, trying to make the situation better, is trying to find a solution, and he runs into this website for the Lands Institute, promising miracles, run by this like renowned fertility doctor, and they apply. And
then they go to the Institute.
Yeah, so the trailer is super creepy with that. I mean, but I'll say this: where did you find your lead actors? Because you can immediately tell that they have chemistry together and they're very likable. So I thought they did a really good job. So where did you find them?
Well, the lead actress was one of the original people we built the project with. We discussed it. So I've known her from like an acting group that I was running in New York, and that she kind of came to a while before. And she already had a relationship. She knew Ignacyo before. So Victorya brought him in, and then we rehearsed him. We had an original cast that, because it was shot during COVID and our budget kind of fell apart, and we had to sort of regroup. We had to go, reorganize, and our original lead was, kind of unavailable. So we found, a friend of hers, a contact of hers, and, rehearsed him, and he was perfectly adequate, and, we just rolled with it.
Yeah, it's really good. It's kind of I'll call it like a horror mystery is what it comes across to me.
Mystery, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm a big chicken. So are there parts in the movie that I'm gonna have to close my eyes?
Probably closer to the end, there may be some things that could scar a person with a delicate sensibility.
That's me.
But I think I need to deliver on the promise of the premise, right? You can't have a mystery unless there is the mystery. So
where did the idea come from? Where'd you come up with the Institute?
Yeah, just our own journey towards having a children, and finding out about other people's difficulty there, and my own sort of sensitivity, I hope, towards people in that situation, and also the power imbalance that happens. I mean, a doctor has a lot of control over, a person's life. And if they do end up having, potentially ulterior motives, it can be quite devastating.
Yeah, for sure. So your doctor, your scientist in the movie, he's pretty great. He's pretty great. He's almost like a comic book villain. You know that?
Yeah, I get that. I had, to me, when I write a villain, it's always the most fun, right? The hero,
Yes.
and they're kind of like, their actions are sort of, sort of understood. They're more like us, right? They're more like real people.
Right.
But villains, especially to that level, you can really let your imagination run wild. And I hope I didn't run too wild, but
no, it looks great. I thought, and you did a good job with your choice. I thought it's so it was very believable, which makes it even creepier and scarier, I think, because you just have this dread of what's coming.
Excellent.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So when does the Institute come out?
1 week from today, Tuesday.
That's what I thought. So our plan is, because we like to watch, like invite people over and watch in the studio. So our plan is to get together with 10 or 12 friends and family and watch in studio. So we're pretty excited about that. That's going to be our like movie of the week.
Nice. Yeah, we're very excited.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
Yeah, let us know what people think. If some are not horror fans, they're horror fan, they like mystery, they don't like mystery. It's always good to get an idea of what people that are not into genre might be.
That's right. That's right. I think most of I'll be the chicken, but I usually like it. I have a heart. I'll be kind of watching through my hands, that type of stuff. But the rest of them, they'll be fine. So I understand though that it's a little racy in parts. So how was that? Because you're working on set. I'm assuming that's fairly new. Navigating those waters. So what was that like?
That's a good question. Very good question. It was more difficult than I thought it would be. I kind of discussed with the people, the team in the advance, and everybody seemed okay with it. But it's not something I had a lot of experience with. Especially there's ensemble element. There's a group that's involved, right? It's not just kind of the intimate scenes. I brought in an intimacy coordinator that specializes in those moments, right? Because as a first time feature director, without really, I've done like a chaste kiss, I think was the most racy or any of my projects, right? Even that was kind of like a really big deal. We had to talk to people and kind of go through it. So we brought in like a professional basically to help discuss things with people. I was involved in some of those discussions, some I wasn't, so they could have their own space and discuss things, whatever made them comfortable. So then the intimacy coordinator could kind of anonymize things. So if there was any situation that, particular actor or actress did not feel comfortable with, it didn't, it wasn't like I was like, I didn't even know who it was or anything, right? So
yeah, that's smart.
Yeah, just because I'm not really trying to push anybody, right? I know there's some directors and writers out there that want to like surprise people or get like reactions and stuff. That's that's not me necessarily. Especially not in those kind of situations. I think you want to be prepared, comfortable, everybody's on the same page, and then we're just go in and I think they were pretty comfortable. Yeah,
that's pretty great. I didn't realize there was such a person. I didn't realize that, but that makes complete sense.
Yeah, I think it's a newer position per se, but we
just felt the advocacy was important.
Yeah. Well, yeah, for sure. So how did you get around, because you're filming, during this mess of the last couple of years, how did you get around doing, especially the intimate scenes, and still be safe?
Yeah. Well, like the actors were the most vulnerable. We did everything that we could as far as like, masking, like even offset. But of course, like they weren't able to follow that part of the protocol, like during the filming. But what we set up was kind of like the NBA bubble. We got everybody tested, and we all stayed on this like summer camp campus. Where we had our own like really amazing chef, right? Mm-hmm. And like we just filmed this movie like in a bubble, like where people were tested, right beforehand. And that's how, that's how we made it, like that's how.
I mean, that's pretty great, and it's not something that probably when you were creating the film you thought you would have to do.
No, that threw us for a big loop. But Chelsea, you handled it like a champ. When the big win was finding that summer camp to be able to actually house everybody, because we were looking at like hotels and the experience just would not have been the same. Just having somebody staying at like everybody in this hotel kind of in this sort of small town areas. So finding like a base of operations where everybody had like bonfires every night, they had some wine, they had like game room, so the camera department basically lived in the in the pool table the whole time, on their days off, they got to go kayaking. It was actually really idyllic, I think, especially a lot of people came up from the city. So they're like in New York compressed, and they got to actually experience the great outdoors for a bit.
Yeah. And I think it helped with the actors, like, bonding off camera.
Yeah.
I think it helped, like, like you said, the chemistry of, the leads and everything. I think it helped everyone, especially during this challenging time.
Yeah, I think it would absolutely, if you're in a confined space and you're around the same people all the time, you're either going to hate each other or start to love each other. So it's going to be one or the other.
Probably both, depending.
What was it? Did that present any challenges as far as the budget? Because that's something that you weren't planning on. Did that mess you up at all as far as the how you were allocating your money?
Yeah, we had a good 30% of our budget kind of dry up. So we had to sort of reorganize some of our plans. Like our marketing budget was, we X'd out the marketing budget. We gave like some people like 30% haircuts, and we were able to get it made. And then, once the finished product was there, then we kind of went around again and we put in some more money and we're able to find another investor and build the marketing budget as well.
Yeah, that's terrific. Yeah, you got to have the marketing budget, because otherwise it's just sitting there with nobody watching it. So that's pretty daunting as well, I think.
It was something, we all made the choice together with our investors. I discussed it with everybody and was like, hey, this is what we're cutting. This is what we're doing. If we go through with it, we are comfortable that we probably made promises, looking at all the challenges that came up, maybe we should not have been, but we got it done. But we said that, hey, we might not have the money to push it at the end. So if you guys are comfortable with us delivering it and just focusing on the product, and we got the approval for everybody, and that's actually what took us so long in post. We were anticipating like a 3-month post process, but because of the budget constraints and the amount of VFX, it took us 1.5 years to complete it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, just to stay in the budget, and you can sacrifice quality, time, or money, you know what I mean? But we chose to keep the quality there and keep the budget low, but it just took a lot longer.
Yeah, smart. How did you handle the special effects? Who was working on those for you?
Yeah, we had a few people in the team handling different elements of it. There's the rigging, there's, the virtual environment, and, it was basically just, hiring VFX people and kind of walking through them until they were at the place where, we could get them.
Yeah, that's pretty great. That's pretty great. I think people, when you're like me, you're a fan, you think, it's a movie. Just make a movie, no big deal. But it's so much that goes into it. You don't, as a fan, all you see is the end product. So you don't think anything about, all the blood and sweat and tears that everyone's putting into making it.
Yeah. Well, now you've been talking to filmmakers for a while now, huh? You have a good insight into this.
Yeah, I've got good insight to it. So for me, like with me, all it did was enhance the viewing experience for me. That's all it did. With my son Brett, he's in film school here local. Okay. It kind of messed it up for him, because now he knows what's going into, he knows behind the scenes and stuff. So now he's very critical when he watches, so it takes him out of it. Whereas me, I have no trouble. I dive right in. I'm right in it.
Yeah, it's true, because especially when you're watching like dailies or as I'm watching the film, or sometimes you can't help but look at some of the technical aspects. So I try to put that behind me and just kind of go along for the ride.
So will we get an Institute 2?
That is a good question. Will we survive an Institute 2?
Well, you left the door open in the script.
Well, let's see. We don't want to give away too much of the ending, but it's possible. You know, I have a couple of other projects that I'm working on that are, you know, not related to the Institute, but depends on if, you know, people like it and they want us to make it, and then we'll tackle the story again.
Heck yeah. So how long of a shoot was it? So it took you 1.5 years in post, but how long was the shoot?
We had about a month. We had 18 shooting days over a month with, you know, some breaks. So basically,
that's pretty quick.
Yeah.
That no wonder you were stressed. That's pretty quick.
Yeah.
And, you know, we were lucky, that worked out. Like, we didn't go over our days or anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So nobody came down with any illnesses that made you shuffle stuff around.
Yeah, but you know, like, I mean, similar to like any situation, like anybody gets like feeling anything, you know, a headache, or, you know, like, you know, you're shooting 14 hours a day. So, you know, like you might feel a little like out of it, like, anyway, you know, like, so, you know, we had some, you know, some people had some moments, but like,
yeah, nobody got COVID on our shoot.
But we were good. Thank God.
Yeah, thank God.
Yeah, that's for sure. So what was the one thing that happened on set that caused you to shuffle stuff around? Like it surprised you that something came up, or did you have like, you know, some type of disaster happen that you had to correct?
Well, there's so many. Where do we even talk? I mean, this is a budget
the
film.
first thing that came to my mind was we had in the dinner scene, we had varnished the chairs, you know, to make them look perfect, and they ended up not drying in time. And the actors came like in their, like, you know, their costumes, like all like perfectly steamed and everything, and like sat back, and
stained,
you know, they were all stained. So, you know, that was
tough to deal with. So then we're scrambling, trying to dab it dry. You know, our friend who helped us, you know, our carpenter who did the varnishing, you know, told us that it would be ready by the next day, but it's still sticky and tacky, and we basically had to like reorganize the shoot, clean the costumes, you know, and this is all while everybody was getting ready to actually come shoot. So we had to really we got pushed back, cover them, you know what I mean, make sure that nobody's going to get the costumes damaged.
Yeah,
it was tough.
Yeah, that's a bad one.
Yeah.
I think
so
there were others,
lessons learned, you know.
Don't paint the day before the shoot, paint 2 days before, maybe.
That's right. Put a little extra gap in there. You know, what were your influences when you're writing this script? Was there anything that was kind of influencing you as far as that goes?
I mean, I would say my personal influences are usually on the literary side. So for me, you know, the kind of horror that I don't know if I would channel it per se, but, you know, that I kind of was into was like, you know, H.P. Lovecraft, kind of the original.
Oh yeah.
Father, you know, one of the original greats in this genre.
Yeah, talk about creepy. I mean, his stuff's pretty creepy.
Yeah, I mean, he had a very troubled life, you know, and he definitely had a very paranoid elements to his personality that helped him kind of create some of these fears. And that fear, you know, I think was of the other really, it was permeated into his work. And so when he channeled it to this cosmic horror, it really stood the test of time because it was real.
Yeah, absolutely. So in your writing, you know, what do you get out of writing? You know, what's that process like? Is it therapeutic? Is it just is it a job? Is it stressful? You know, what's writing like for you?
Yeah, I mean, when I'm actually doing it, you know, the process, the first little bit, you know, there's usually a little bit of a kind of a ramp up, or there was some fear or whatever you want to call emotion. But then when you actually get in the groove of writing, and when you're doing the work, it's really very fun. You know, even the rewriting is as painful as it may be, you know, I find it very cathartic. And I've been writing since I was, you know, young, and it's just something I really have always enjoyed doing, wanted to do. And, you know, specifically for the screen, is very difficult, because you're not going to be able to make anything. The writing alone is almost just, I wouldn't call it worthless, but, you know, it's really not the end all goal, right? It's not going to be an effective way to communicate your ideas on a wide scale. So learning how to transmit that, to transform that into an actual standing, you know, work, whether it's a play or a film, has been the challenge. The writing itself has always been very much kind of a part of who I am.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So when one of you gets upset, you know, did you have to figure out how to kind of handle that situation? You know, how do you calm each other down?
Well, I didn't realize that this was going to be marriage therapy, but so one situation that we dealt with, I guess should we go back to the intimate scenes?
We can, sure.
Basically, you know, even with the intimacy coordinator, it did not necessarily change the fact that because there are some racy elements to this movie, I am on set with things happening, you know.
Sure.
And so at a certain point, you know, because filmmaking takes a lot longer than what you see, you know, for like 5 minutes of screen time, you know, there's 3 days of these shoots. So I just want you to use your imagination and have empathy for Chelsea, to have, you know, me sitting there directing for like 3 days while a lot of these kind of more free elements are transpiring.
Yeah. So, how did you handle that? How'd you handle that, Chelsea?
I left. But actually, what I did is I kind of stepped back from, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
I basically kind of,
you know, I actually thought it was like really sweet, because, you know, like I had, you know, read the script, and, you know, like I'm fully aware of like all of the things, the intimacy coordinator, but, you know, it does get a little hard, you know, like when you're, you know, with your partner that you love. So Hamza actually was like super sweet. He like he did step back. He's like, you know what, like I can trust my cameraman, and I can trust my actors, you know, for certain of them. And he you know, he kind of like let them do their thing for like a little bit of it, and I thought that was like extremely sweet, you know?
Some of the more intense scenes, actually, I'm not even in the room. I've given them, because they're closed set anyways, you know, these kind of, especially racy, so I gave them a couple of the shots that I really required, made sure that the actors are comfortable, that they're okay with it. The DP, you know, kind of just gave the camera team the instruction. Then I kind of just hung out. Me and Chelsea went to a different area, and we're just kind of hanging out while they finished the particularly intimate scenes.
Yeah, but that was like kind of like a surprise to me, and that was like just super sweet.
That's really nice. That's really nice. That had to be kind of surreal, though. You're off just hanging out, but you know what's going on while you're doing that. That's going to be a little weird.
I didn't exactly know until we started, you know, watching the dailies and getting the edit together, because you know, there was a little bit of, I have given them, I mean, the script calls for some specific motions and things to happen during, you know, the intimate scenes, but you don't really know what you're going to see until you see it. So
yeah.
And actually, like we were seeing that, and we're just like, wow, they like, because when we were just hanging out, it seemed like very quick, you know, especially like in terms of filmmaking, and we're just like, wow, they've, you know,
they were really professional. They got it done very quickly.
I was going to say, actors usually, I mean, it's not as big a deal to most of them. It's just a job. They just do it and move on.
Yeah.
acting.
Yeah, they were comfortable and they knew each other. They knew each other before they knew me, I think. So
Yeah.
Just kind of wanted to double check, make sure they're comfortable. I think they did a great job. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited to see the end result because it has so many different elements. I think, just from watching the trailer, there's a whole lot of stuff going on with that, different genres, and which makes it intriguing to me.
Yeah,
and then you don't know exactly what's coming. So, your imagination kind of goes wild. You're thinking, is it, are we going to get some type of, sci-fi or supernatural type of thing? Is it just going to be, it's a mystery.
Who knows? Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm so glad you kind of mentioned that because we have kind of like a hard time putting it in one category or another.
Yeah.
Like thriller, suspense, horror, it's
good.
All things, and it's like none of them specifically. So I'm glad you picked up on that.
Yeah, I did. I thought really good job on the trailer because that's not easy. Putting the trailer together, not easy. Figuring out what you want to show and not to show too much.
Right. Yeah. I almost thought we did show too much, but with a trailer, you almost want other people to do it, right? You don't want to necessarily have too much. I had cut one, but then, you're always so precious about your story.
Yeah.
And I don't want to give away too much. At a certain point, bring somebody with fresh eyes in. That's why it's good to have an editor. I know some people, they edit their own films and they do a lot of this stuff. I think it's helpful to have another pair of eyes come in, pick out the scenes that they like. And then of course you have to go and tune it because you're like, you missed this part, or this part was very important. You want to kind of massage that, but it's helpful to have other people's eyes. And that's why it's such a collaborative art form.
Yeah. And also why it took a year and a half in post. It takes some time.
Yeah, usually take another year. You just can't, you can always just keep going. That's the thing.
Yeah, for sure. And I know, my wife paints and she, every time I think she's finished, she adds another layer, right? She just keeps adding layers and layers, and I think she would do that forever, but at some point she has to stop. It's like, that's enough. That's kind of, I would assume it's kind of like that. At some point you got to say, okay, I've done the best I'm going to do. It's going to start, I'm going to get diminishing returns if I keep fooling with it.
Yeah. It's always, I think we made the right decisions and, to finish it and get the product, completed. And, the people that have seen the whole thing, we had some neighbors of ours come over and watch some test shoots and some friends. We didn't really show it out too much and they enjoyed it. And that's really the whole point of it is, can you watch this movie and will you enjoy the experience?
Yeah, that's awesome. So really appreciate you guys coming on the show. This has been terrific. I'm a big fan of yours now, and I haven't even seen the movie. So but now I'm invested now.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much.
It's been a lot of fun for us too.
Yeah, this has been great. So a couple of things though before we wrap up. So besides the Institute, is there anything else that you guys are working on that we can kind of keep an eye out for?
I've got some other projects. I don't have any titles to release yet. We're kind of still working on it, but I have another thriller that's a much bigger project, that'd be like a studio level film. And then I have another indie, which is kind of like my take of a heist movie that I'm working on.
That's exciting. That'd be fun.
Yeah. And then a couple of like comedy, like a comedy pilot and another TV pilot. So just working on the projects.
Yeah, that's exciting. So Chelsea, do you ever say, I've had enough working with you, I'm gonna go over here and do my own thing?
Yeah. We have to break. Go ahead.
There are moments, right? But like can't stay away.
Yeah. I love how close you guys are, and it comes across that you really enjoy working together. And that's not always easy as a couple. You can get along great outside of work, but it seems like you guys, it's pretty seamless. You translate that, to the job. That's awesome.
She's very talented. I mean, the costumes and the costumes alone, were one of the first items we, won an award for on our last film. And it really does help because, you know, I think to me, you know, I'm focused on story and kind of the characters and plot. You know, I personally don't ever really think too much about what people are wearing. It just never was one of these things.
It's kind of important though.
Very important. The look is it's everything, you know, and I wouldn't have been as made as aware of it if I didn't have such a talented costume designer as Chelsea.
That's awesome.
And that's like, you know, one of the most fun things for me, like to do, even though, you know, like we both actually wore like a ton of hats, you know, to get this like indie feature together. But when I can, you know, just like focus on costumes a little bit, it's like it's really like so much fun for me.
It's so funny because the title of producer, you know, like if it's a really big budget film, producer's probably just providing money. But on smaller budget films, producer does everything. You know, and you're probably doing stuff that you had no idea that you were going to have to do.
Oh yeah.
So
even like taking out the trash or mowing the grass.
Oh, right.
Director, I did that personally because, you know, we, instead of hiring some landscapers, you know, I mowed the grass between the take, and then at the end of the day, when everybody's kind of winding down, I had to make sure I would take the trash out so the cook could, you know, take a couple hours back. And these are just the small things you have to do, you know, to make sure everybody's kind of taken care of after working a good 12-hour day, you know, 10-12-hour day.
Yeah. Those are hard days. So last thing before you guys go, you know, where can we see the film and where can we find you guys on social media?
Okay, so the film will be available on most streaming platforms, like, you know, YouTube and Amazon,
iTunes.
Oh, awesome.
Cable providers, Spectrum,
cable.
all North American cable and satellite providers, most of them. And also,
also it'll be available on DVD and Blu-ray at like Barnes and Noble and Best Buy and Walmart.
Yeah, at their websites, I think you can order it from there if you want physical copies.
Oh, very nice. Yeah, that's kind of cool. And streaming's awesome, but I like to have something in my hand.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to look forward to getting those ourselves, actually. And for social, you know, the site for what movie is institutemovie.com. You know, my Twitter is Hamza Zaman. We have, you know, our Facebook, you know, it's Facebook/headlessfilm. And, you know, my IG is hamza.zam. And I think there's other stuff out there, but, you know, you can find us if you want to look on social media.
Yeah, I didn't have any trouble finding you guys. It was pretty easy. Well, thank you guys so much. This has been a blast, and we have to do it again. We have to get back together on your next project.
Okay. You got it. I'll guarantee that. We're going to bring the gang back together again, and let us know what your friends think about the film this weekend. Yeah.
I'll try to take some pictures. Let you guys kind of see the group.
Amazing.
Kind of checking it out. I should have asked, do either of you make a cameo in the movie?
Well, because it was COVID and our cast had to be limited, both of us ended up making cameos.
Nice.
So we don't have to tell you what they are. Maybe you could just pick them out when you see it.
That's right. Yeah, that's awesome. I know if I was a filmmaker or a writer, I would have myself in there somewhere all the time. I wouldn't want much to do, but somewhere in a background or something, I'd be in there.
The Alfred Hitchcock for sure. Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, why not?
Well, thank you guys so much and best of luck. It looks awesome. So it's the Institute, comes out on the 22nd of March. Can't wait.
Thank you so much. Yeah, this is really nice.
Yeah, it's been great. Okay, hold on one second. How fun was that? Hamza Zaman and Chelsea Roth. I love that. I can't wait to see the movie. So the movie is The Institute, March 22nd. Sounds like it's going to be available everywhere. I know we'll be watching in studio, so I hope you'll be watching as well. Go and find the trailer and you'll be hooked. It looks really, really good. I love the behind the scenes stuff, and I hope you guys do as well, because I think it's really neat to to talk about some of the difficulties and the struggles, especially during COVID times, of putting together those smaller budget films. Really interesting, and they, you can tell they obviously enjoy working together. They've got such good chemistry together. That was a lot of fun. So I'm anxious to see the movie. If you guys haven't done so yet, you can help us out. You know, we're trying to build up our YouTube numbers, so you can go to MeisterCon Pod and subscribe. That would just be a big help to us. You can also find all 360 or so episodes on our website, meistercon.com. There's a fun, geeky blog that Brett writes. It's hilarious. It's really well written. So you can check that out there. If we're doing anything in studio, if we're going on location, if we're covering a convention, we're hoping to get back into our, our press coverage of conventions. All that'll be on the website, meistercon.com. Thank you guys so much. This has been a blast. Until next time, bye, everybody.